Yo, yo, yo. Can you guys hear me all right? How's everybody doing? Welcome back. Took me a lot longer than I thought to make this kind of cutscene, but we finally have some sort of graphical stuff, right? Instead of just plain old waiting on the charts. Hope everybody's doing right. Yeah, so stream starting soon. Some new people. Rogo N2K. I don't think you've been here before. Welcome, welcome. Everybody else, Triz, Calvin, welcome. Babo's Kingdom. Is that like a character from a game or something? Yeah, welcome back everyone. Last stream of the week. Obviously there is no trading on a Saturday, so doing a breakdown Friday night is not going to do you much benefit. All right, so just take Friday night off, chill out, come back next week, and we'll catch some more trades, right? It's 3 in the morning. Yeah, I feel like I didn't choose the best time. I feel like everybody in Asia, they can't watch the streams. It works for people in London and people in the US, but it also depends where in the US. Some people it takes longer, or it's like too late or too early in the morning. But yeah, welcome to the streams. If it's your first time, like up the streams, everyone. We'll get started pretty soon, yeah? 6 a.m. for you? Jesus. But I guess Don also, he also wakes up at about like 6:30, 7 to do his live stream. So maybe you just wake up for Asian, and it's like I think it's a good practice to wake up early, um, do an analysis, right, based off what you see when when price action isn't really moving too much, and then afterwards, when price actually starts to move, then yeah, cool, you have your analysis ready to go. You can see how much has changed, if you need to do a new analysis, but yeah, I think it's a pretty good practice. It also gets you in the routine of just, naturally doing analysis when you feel like the previous one isn't, valid anymore. So I don't do an analysis just based off of like, oh, yeah, like I just need to do analysis every like 30-minute candle or whatever candle. If the candle closures make it seem like, you know, everything hasn't changed too much, I might not do a new analysis, right? Especially if like, for example, like news is going to come out in a second and I need to have the analysis ready, and I trust my analysis, then it's fine. But if prices moved away from where my initial analysis was, it's slightly more difficult, right? So in that case, yeah, I'll probably do a new analysis. The NY session trade? What was the trade? I forgot. Oh, the flip of the 4 hour, right? We took this 4 hour flip after it came down. I think we closed off at about 10 pips exactly, so it's pretty good. Exactly to plan, right? Couldn't have asked for any more than that. Welcome everyone. 18 viewers, 5 likes. Brothers. Yeah, it was a solid day. 1.2% off that one trade. Jesus. How did I get everything to click for you? Just keep going, honestly. The only way to actually like make sense of price action is to keep looking at price action. You know that saying where like if you want to become an expert in anything, you just keep grinding that one thing, like 10,000 hours in one thing, and you become an expert. It's true. Just keep going, right? There's no other way to do it because you need to be, looking at the charts, quite often, um, to get an idea of what price is going to do, right? Experience. How many years is 10,000 hours? Say you do like a 6 hours on the charts every single day, right? A little bit on and off. You have like some breaks in the middle. 6 hours a day. So 10,000 divided by six. That is 1,666 days. If you now divide that by, let's say you're trading 5 days a week, right? So how many weeks is this? 333 weeks, right? Divided by 52. That's about 6 years. So don't rush it, right? It's going to take you some time, but it is a journey. If you try to rush it, it might not go exactly your way, and that's an issue. But yes, you guys cannot hear anything. Okay, welcome. That was embarrassing. Yeah, okay. So just going back to the monthly, right? So monthly, we spent the majority of our time below here, making a bottom wick. And as we start to flip towards the very end of the month, right? The last couple of days, I would say, like from like last Friday, right? Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we started to push. And ever since we started pushing, right? If this was like a 5 minute candle, whatever, even if it's pushing up towards the end, you're expecting it to continue to push, right? You might get a little bit of a retracement, but what I'm expecting for next month's candle is for it to potentially push up first, right? So if price pushes up first and it decides, okay, cool, I'm going to create a top wick first, it's going to be a little bit more annoying for us to trade because we're understanding that at any given point, that monthly candle for December can flip, right? So if you start with a top wick, something like this, any given point you could flip and start coming down back into these ranges, right? Could get a fake out, right? So if this is what we're going to get, then that would mean we're confirming that this is probably a lower low. This is a break of all the highs to start coming down, right? So if that is the case, we'll look to take price down. But again, the monthly closure is more bearish. Sorry, it's more bullish than it is bearish at the moment. So you can think about all this bearishness and obviously how the next month's candle is going to close or is going to open is important. But in general, we're very very bullish, right? We've closed above the range. We have range to fill on the monthly, right, which is all the way up to 2070, right? These sorts of areas. So we're expecting price to be able to fill that range. It also has quite a steep bottom wick plus a monthly fake out previously. So any given point, price could just continue to rip up. But anything above 2077, there's no data, right? So in that case, how do we trade that, right? Once we fill this, which it's very likely that we'll fill towards 2077. Price is going to need to either, once you get a breakout, right? You don't know where your advantage point is. Like, am I break even at 2100? Am I break even at 2160? Like, where is that break even level? And where am I expecting price to travel, right? I don't know. So wait for potentially some range to be formed, right? You'll get this breakouts, right? To go back up, right? You get something like this. And then once you come back into these ranges, grab liquidity, then we can potentially get some buys as it's closing above to fill these ranges. And something we have advantage points. And then we also have top of ranges, right? So we can still trade price action. We just need some more time for price to print its own structure before we're able to take anything um, with, like more certainty in our trades and like more higher probability that it will play out, right? But overall, it's not too much to be worried about. We will adapt to price when it gets to there. We are expecting price to first fill the range though. So the fill up to 2077 is about 400 pips, right? To get there, you're going to need bottom wicks on the daily, weekly, or whatever to continue pushing up, right? So that's the monthly. We're understanding that we have a closure today, right? In 25 minutes, we're going to have a closure of this monthly candle. So depending on how the monthly opens up first is very important. If it comes down, taps around 1991, and then starts to flip bullish, right? Then we can expect, okay, cool, price is going to now fill the range. But if it comes up first, taps 2077, we might be able to look for some sells, right? Depending on the kind of smaller time frame structure there. But because every single time you tap a range or you fill a range, you usually get some sort of rejection first. So when you get that rejection, cool, we'll look for potentially 10 or 20 pips in these sorts of ranges here. But nothing, we're not going to be trading the bigger time frame moves above 2077 because we don't know where it's going to go. All we know is it's bullish, but bullish to when? Like is like has TradingView left us to this space so that price is going to push up to the 14,000s or whatever, right? Like we don't know, but when we get there, we'll have a better idea of what's actually going on. Cool. So the monthly is quite important because we're getting that final closure. Weekly, right? Weekly, we still have one more day of the week, which is Friday. So we also, I think, we'll have news. Let me just check that real quick. Do we have news for tomorrow? Let's check. We have some news. We have some. Okay, we have ISM manufacturing PMI. You have a four. Oh, okay. Powell speaking. Okay. Don might do a double stream. Who knows? Uh, but cool. Essentially, right? We have one more day. Price at any given point doesn't have a bottom wick, right? Your last weekly closed respecting 2006. I'm not expecting it to come down all the way, but if it does and the weekly flips, you might see a relatively aggressive push start coming down, right? So obviously we're quite far away from that. We're about 360 pips away from the flip. But any given point, price will need to fill ranges, right? At the moment, you've potentially filled, I would say, up to 2050. That could be a range that would be filled. These wicks here, probably a daily range, but you still have range towards 2067, 2068, and eventually like the 2070s, right? So I would say you still have range to drive up. You probably also will leave a top wick for the weekly so that when you do continue to push up, right, you have that wick fill that's going to go up, and that means you create that retracement towards the end of the week, which is going to be today, on Thursday, and tomorrow, right, Friday. And the daily just so happens, right, closed bearish, right? You've closed bearish, so on your weekly, you currently have a top wick. So if it closes around here for the weekly, cool, we're looking for a bottom wick, potentially to break the previous lows or break some lows start coming up, when you get the flip, we'll look to get that wick fill on the weekly, right? And currently, as it stands, the wick fill on the weekly is from here, right? Because this is where the weekly is currently at, and the top wick is here, which is 140 pips, which is not bad, right? But let's do an analysis on the daily. Daily is closed at 2036. We have only one price point where price is closed respecting resistance here. So this is support and this is resistance, right? Any given point, this might not actually be the level, but just based off of this, right, we're saying that okay, there's a slightly higher chance that price is respecting 2035 any given point. right? You could range in this area, anywhere from here to I'd say here, potentially up to here, these areas, right? So you're just in this range, 2050 to 2035, I would say for the daily, right? You have a 2050 range here. So last time you broke into it, you filled. Last time you broke into it here, you filled, right? So cool. Now that we're coming back down, but we're respecting the 2035, can we look for bottom wicks to continue breaking the highs, right? Obviously, on the daily, we only have this to our advantage, which isn't a lot of price action. So we're gonna have to look on the smaller time frames to see where that liquidity is being grabbed, so that we can get up to around 2060, 2070 levels, right? So let's just jump on the four. Cool. So the 4 hour currently is bearish, right? You have this level here on the four at 2037, which you previously broke below, right? So you have this level, which is quite nice, right? Right here. And then you also have a bottom range. I would say you have some hourly support around here. And then you also have potentially the bottom of your range around these sorts of areas. So cool. If that is your bottom of your range, or these are your ranges, right? Um, then as your 4 hour is breaking into this range between 2031 and 2037, what can you expect? You can expect that this 4 hour candle broke into it, you're gonna get a wick fill, right? You're gonna get a wick fill plus a fill of the range. That's what you did. Filled the range, you came back up, but you didn't close above 2037. You close doji, right? Or you can say bullish respecting 2037. Any given point, this 4 hour going to come down, but doesn't mean I can just take sells to come down to fill this range. Why? Because you've already filled here. This is a fill of the range. So because you fill the range at any given point, price doesn't need to fill the range anymore, right? Because it already has. Price can just, because on a lower time frame, this will have been, a range fill, like whatever, like some range, moving up to here, potentially down here, and then up to there. Whatever it's done, right? It's already filled this entire range on the higher time frame. So what we're looking for is probably some plays outside of that. All right. So potentially when you get, a break out below here, we'll look for the fake out to come back in, potentially some closures above 2037, and we'll look to take that back up, right? Because we're very bullish, understanding that the monthly, weekly, daily, everything is showing us that we want to continue pushing up to all-time highs. So once we get that, we'll probably look for those buys. But at the moment, you're in this range. I would say to break out of this range, you will need to grab liquidity. Where is that liquidity? Currently, I don't know yet, right? Because you've tapped into these areas, you haven't pushed. I guess you drive because on the 1 hour, you came down first, right? Grabbed here, came down, so you rejected, started pushing up. Now you're just back into this range, back into this range. So if you need liquidity, where is that going to be? Right? So if price on the 1 hour starts ranging here, any given point you get a breakout above, somewhere I would say maybe above here or maybe above here. Once you get that breakout above, look for that bottom wick breaking these lows, potentially breaking this low towards these sorts of areas. So if it retests around 2032, we'll look for that buy wick to start going up. But for that to happen, we will need to see some bullish indication that price wants to drive up, right? If price at any given point does this, where it ranges and then starts coming down, we'll understand that cool. Price on the higher time frame is just in this range. Any given point, you will just get a range fill. So I can't take any buys here. I can't take any sells because you also on the 1 hour, you had this, a fake out to come back. Oh, you had this, right? Fake out to come back into the range. Once you came back to the range, you haven't filled the entire range yet on the 4 hour, right? But if it does fill, I'm expecting it to fill, right? So I can't just take a buy here. Any given point, this could be a range fill. This could be enough liquidity, this fake out for us to drive outside of 2031 and continue down, right? And that could lead to the monthly bottom wick first, next week's bottom wick, and then over time, you might see, the motion playing out, the monthly candle flip, and then prices start to close above or the 2050 or whatever, and then we'll start going up, right? But we will need to see a break of some lows before that happens, and that's just liquidity. So I would say on the 4 hour, I'm bearish at the moment, right? So during Asian, I would say I'm still pretty bearish for the Asian session. But come New York, we'll see. Like a lot of candles will have been printed by then, so we'll see where price takes us by New York. But at the moment, yeah, I think the range you're probably looking to grab is probably down here, right? If you break into these areas on like the 15, 30, especially if you range hard here, right? You understand that you have the top of the range here on your 15, bottom of the range here. Every time you broke below, you filled, right? You filled down to around these areas. 2035, 2032, that's about 25, 30 pips. So any given point, if you get some motion that looks like this, where you get potentially some lower time frame closures above, and it's like, whoa, this is really nice. Like, can we take those buys? No, because we're understanding that any given point, price will close back into the range. Once you get that closure back in the range, what can we look for? We can look for fake outs to come down to fill at least to here, which is your advantage point, right? And then potentially down to here as runners, right? So scenario one is if this candle breaks all the highs first and then starts flipping, cool. Once this breaks the highs, I'll have a sell stop on the flip of the candle right here, right? Case two is if you get a closure back into the range, right? You then get some bullish candle respecting or whatever, and then as this starts coming down, we'll look for a top wick. Doesn't have to be all the way up to these areas because you have something respecting. You're showing that cool. You're probably going to you are respecting 2037 again. So if you're coming back down, cool. We'll look for probably the break of the previous, and then some sell stops there, right? So that's what we're going to be looking for to come down, probably for Asia. That's what I'm expecting because price is bearish at the moment. If you want to start driving up, you need to grab more liquidity. And where's that liquidity going to be? Either in these areas here or below, right? Below, I'm expecting probably, somewhere around these areas, like between 2032, like, below. If it's below, then we don't know how far it's going to go because it's relatively clean traffic all the way down to like 2027. So I don't know where that's going to be. If you do get a retest of 2027, could be pretty good. So I'm going to now try to look left to see if there's any indication of price tapping certain levels and then wanting to go up after having tapped those levels. So you have this, right? You tapped 2031. I think we broke this down yesterday, saying that if it taps 2031, you'll very likely get a wick rejection there. I think Don also mentioned that on his stream. I mean, yeah, it looks like 2031 is not bad of an area, right? All of these. But as you've come up, where did you tap before you were able to come back down? In this case, tapped, right? You tapped into 2042. So can we look for sells at 2042? Has that happened yet? That's what I'm asking myself now, right? In this case, you came all the way back up. You tapped to these areas, 2052, all the way up to 2059. So if you start breaking above, currently I can't take anything, right? Because we haven't closed above 2050 before. So if you start pushing above, it could just be price looking to continue bullish all the way up to 2070. So I can't take those sells at these areas. In fact, I'm probably going to be looking for buys instead. But once price, pushes all the way up here, starts rejecting, comes back down, we'll look for those sells to come down if it forms destruction, right? But on the 4 hour, let's see if 2042 has been tapped. So if it has, then we probably can't get any entries. Cool. So 42 hasn't tapped officially. On this candle as well, you haven't tapped. So that's probably why you kind of haven't done anything, right? So you need liquidity for us to drive down. So any given point, what am I kind of expecting now, right? Is price to do something like this, where you have potentially a bullish candle like this, closing respecting, right? Then you have a bearish candle, something like this. Or your next candle, right, pushes up all the way to 42 first, then starts coming down. I'll take those, wick entries here. If this is closing here, like respecting, right? At the moment, you're pretty bearish, and especially if you haven't broken any of these lows yet, I'm expecting price to come down to break these lows if it wants to drive up. So taking the wick entries here, if price is just looking like this, kind of like naked, right? Where you haven't broken any of these lows, then cool. The wick entries are probably okay. Or you can, if you want more confirmation, potentially look for the flip to come down, right? So the flip of the candle gives you from a range from here to here, which is not bad. But yeah, that's what I'd be looking for. That real quick on the 4 hour. Yeah, so you haven't really tapped into these areas. This wick came to 2041. Is that it? Maybe. If it is, then there's nothing you can do. If price just continues to start driving down, I can't really take sells below 2031. I am worried that price is going to continue pushing up at the moment. So yeah, it's a little bit more difficult in that sense. Have a look on the hourly. Let's See on the hourly. Okay, cool. Last time we were in this range, right? In this range here, you grab liquidity towards 2031. So cool. You started closing above, closing back into 37 to 42. Once you got that, you tapped into again 42, 44, right? So these could be some sell levels as well, right? Anywhere to these areas, right? Because you're currently in this range, right? You've come down, you've tapped into 31. If you get a sell at 42, that's fantastic, right? To come down. But any given point, if price starts ranging above, you might need some sell slightly higher up, and that would be around 2045, 2044, that sort of area. I'll be looking for sells around there. So I'll just highlight this for now. But again, it depends on structure. And if price looks like it wants to start coming back up, we might be able to get some retests of 2031 to start retesting those highs. And I'll be looking for that at around, yeah, so buys here, sells there, right? Okay, so the sells have already happened. So this was exactly what we were looking for. So I can't take the sells here, unfortunately, because it could mean that you've already started that move, right? So what happened after that move? See, like these levels on the left, they tell you so much information about where price is likely to go. But cool, so you had this. You also tapped into 2031, right? I'd say this has happened, this first half. You haven't then tapped back into 2040s, these sorts of areas. So if you do, you can probably look to get some rejections towards here, but I would rather be looking for bottom wicks to get buys or breakouts, right? So once you had this, you closed respecting 42, came down, potentially look for the flip or some wick entries. The buy is still relatively valid if you start closing above, right, into these areas. So if you close above 2037, I'll look for bottom wicks at around 2032 for that to start retesting the highs because I'm still very bullish, right? But that's basically it. And then if you start getting closures above, probably just buys closures above there. Because I'm understanding you've already tapped into this level. You may need liquidity, but you also have already tapped into 2032, 2031. So if price just starts pushing above, like it's not going to stop, right? Probably buys above here as well. On the hourly, you tapped here, you didn't close above, right? So in this case, it's less useful. It's mainly just this. Like if you get a buy above here, what does that look like for current price? That's what I'm asking myself. So yeah, cool. Like this area is not bad. In general, if you get a buy above here, you're looking to fill this range. If you get a buy above here, you're looking to go break even at least like that's about 10 pips around here. If you look at the top of this range is about 20 pips, 18 pips. 30, yeah, if you get a 30 closure above, right? Quite nice. I'd say if price currently, right? If for example you get you range here, you start breaking above here. If price at any given point, obviously we need to adapt to price action, right? If price then comes down to break these lows, I'll look for the flip to go up. Because at any given point, this could be liquidity for us to drive down. If it then flips and then starts, pushing back up, cool. I'll look to take those buys to fill this range up to 2042. And then above there, if you do get some more stuff, I'll look for those buys to continue up. Sells wise, again, I'm gonna need to see this, right? So if you get this, a break above, right? I probably would look for some wick entries depending on if it taps around 2042 and it hasn't broken those yet. If that's the case, cool, I'll look for these cells to come down, right? If not, what I'll need is like this, break out above, then a break of these lows. Once you break these lows, cool, I'll look for that to come down because you're breaking all the highs, breaking all the lows. I'm understanding that when that does happen, right? Um, you typically go down towards these sorts of areas. So your advantage point, if you take the flip, you probably have it till the next range or the bottom of the range. So probably when it comes back into here. So if this is a fake out to come back down, look for the fake out to continue it. And then I guess number three is if price does something like this, comes down first, right, and then creates a top wick. I can't look for a sell here because any given point this could be liquidity to go up. So I'll look for the flip, and if this starts closing below here, then yeah, cool. That's what I'll look for there. Uh, yeah, so my current 42 level is a bit of buy and a bit of sell. Depends on price action. I'm gonna delete this for now as like a level because it's a little bit far away. But yeah, that's essentially what I'm looking for. Not very complex, but again, adapt to price when it happens, right? If you're looking purely on the 15, which is relatively clean, I would say tonight, you have a level here, you have a level around these sorts of areas, right? So because you have that, you're in this range. Any given point, if you get a breakout above or a breakout below, you're looking for moves in the opposite direction. For example, if it breaks down, is this liquidity for us to start going up? If you break above, is this liquidity for us to start coming down, right? So that's what I'm worried about. Um, but in general, I would say if you just look at structure, if you just look at structure like on the 4 or whatever, right? You're showing that you have a closure below celery respecting or doji 4 hour that's bullish, and now it's starting to come down. So I'm expecting price to continue driving down, and at least you'll tap around 32, and then you'll probably, I don't know if you'll continue down at the moment because it's a pretty strong level. But if you start coming down, you might tap 20 27 sorts of levels, but we'll see. But at the moment, right, getting like the buys at this level, I'm gonna need a breakout above, right? When you get a closure back into 2037, bottom wicks to come up, right? So I need that confirmation. If not, I can't take the buys. But if you just get buys above here, cool, I'll still need some liquidity. So if it just pushes up like this, let me draw candles actually. Candles make more sense. So for example, you get a closure back into the range. Right? Your next candle, if it just continues to pop up like this, I can't take a buy as this is closing above. I can't take this. Instead, if it then breaks the lows and then flips, then cool, I'll have this off the rip, right? I might even have like a buy stop here for this candle to flip if it has no top wick and it's like the hourly or the 4 hour, right? But case two is if price gets a closure above, and on the smaller time frame, you start ranging and start coming down. And that could just be a liquidity grab, right? Any given point on your 4 hour or your hourly or like a higher time frame candle, what it's going to look like is just bottom wick. That's like steep, right? So if that happens, cool, I can look for those buys above here as well. But again, it's going to be a flip. I need that confirmation, especially if you haven't tapped into these areas. If you've tapped into these areas first, like for example, you get this, then you get a closure above, right? Above like here. Probably even take this off the rip, or like yeah, take that off the rip once it flips, right? But definitely this off the rip. I would say once it does something like that, you'll be looking for this range for at least 2044, right? So all of these here, you might be able to get some runners towards these areas, but that's what we're looking for. That's what I'm looking for. You don't have to look for the same thing. Um, yeah, cool. Hopefully that's relatively straightforward. Well, not straightforward, but hopefully you guys understand that. I'm gonna let some dogs out and let's see what they have to say. I mean, yeah, you guys feel free to ask questions on the YouTube live as well. Um, I'll try to answer as many questions as I can, especially as price is kind of, it's finally creating some structure. There's some stuff to talk about. Even though we already tapped 32 once, we still need, um, we don't need it. It'd be great if we saw it. But the reason why I'm saying 32 is definitely like, was likely to get tapped, right, is because you have this 4 hour structure. Right, the 4 hour close below, respecting any given point is going to come down to fill the range. Right. Yeah, because of this, right? So you fill the range, but any given point, you can just continue to come down to fill the range. And you're just in this range at the moment, right? When you're in a range, you'll just fill tops and bottoms, right? You just do this. So a fill of 32 is likely. But if you want it to drive up, right? Sometimes you might just fill up to 32, come back up and do something like this, right? That's cool. That's fine. You might get bottom wicks and like liquidity when it breaks above in areas like here, right? Because you've broken above already. Or if you don't, you need that liquidity to break above. We'll look for it slightly lower. But yeah. What's up, Jacob? How you doing?
So, bro, who are you?
Yeah, not bad, not bad. Sorry, I muted you guys again. I just put you guys on. You guys can unmute yourselves. So with that, like I think every time I click that, you guys just get muted. So
It's a good feature.
yeah, great user experience. Did you guys see the cutscene?
The what?
The what?
Like the initial like loading screen for the stream.
Yeah.
Man, that took me way longer than like Huss told me it would take me 10 minutes. Motherfucker. I spent like an hour and a half on that shit.
It's swanky though, you know?
But it's like what how does somebody just I guess they just download something and just use it, I guess, because it's quite generic. I wanted to tailor it a little bit. And then next step is to actually have like the stream currently is just like it's just this, right? It's just the charts. Yeah, I'll jazz it up later on. But yeah, that's the goal. Any questions for price action at the moment?
I mean,
Go ahead, Johnny, because I'm right here. I'm
yeah,
barely about to get home.
on the hourly, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. This news scandal threw me off so bad for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
Because it came oh, just that hourly 1 o'clock candle, it came so far up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say like
and back down.
yeah.
And I have a level at 39. So it came back down and I was respecting as well.
Yeah. Yeah, so
So
when it kind of I think it came down first and then came up and then continued down. Um so in cases like this where it's kind of like whipsawy, we just kind of wait for it, right? We just wait to see where price is going to go. Once it's stabilizing, like the hourly closes, right? Then at that point, cool, we can look to take some trades, like because price this at this point, like once it closes this candle, you'll have seen a top wick, very nice top wick, right? And then a closure below most recent as well, and a bearish closure indicating that you're bearish, for the short term.
yeah.
So some sells there wouldn't have been too bad.
Yeah.
But
But then I was like, after that, I was like, oh, I kind of want to take buys off of this, off the rejection, off like 31 or 32,
yeah,
right? But then it's like that wick at the top is so big. It's
yeah,
like
you
I
don't know if
just
it's
feel
going to
like
push
that could
through.
just be liquidity to push down.
Yeah,
And anything coming back up could just be like more short-term liquidity.
yeah,
Just
yeah.
flip back on you, which then meant I was like, I guess I'm not going to take a trade because
Yeah, so I would say like
like
the only trade which I think Don took as well is when this 4 hour closed below, right? It came down first thing and had no top wick for the 4 hour candle.
yeah, and then it
So
flipped.
with it flipped, right? So we took the flip instead of the buys here, which makes a lot of sense, right? Because if it wants to rip down, it definitely can.
Yeah,
So I'm not staying in that when it's ripping. But I guess like the buys here did work out, but it's not something I would have taken for sure.
yeah. I literally got back to the chart at like I don't know 10 past 2 or something.
Yeah.
And I looked at looked at the chart and went, oh, I could take a flip, and then I opened on stream. It's like, oh, he's already in a position.
Yeah.
Having done like no analysis, I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I
You just
really
see it.
shouldn't take a position here. I missed it. So
Yeah.
that's fine.
It's all right. We have tomorrow. Thoughts on hitting all-time highs? Yeah, I mean, by the monthly closure above the range, yeah, probably. Did the monthly close? Did it close? Is it? What the fuck? Why is it not closing? When is the monthly closing? Today, right? Bruh.
There's not a new hourly yet, though, so
Yeah, maybe.
or
Well,
SD
doesn't the new daily open at like
11. Yeah, but sometimes it is a couple minutes late.
Yeah, because there's just no volume, there's no orders. But that's fine. We'll see it. We'll see it open. 2034 level has multiple wicks. In the 4 hour, could that be a liquidity grab to push to 2042? So on your oh, is that the monthly open? A nice. So a bit of a gap there. Oh, that's like 10 pips. Congrats to whoever took this. Nice. 2034. Yeah, some wicks here. I would say this is not liquidity, right? Because this is just some range. On the 4 hour, you're coming down. You're understanding your entire 4 hour range is from 2037 to 2032, right? So if that's your entire range, right, then cool. Like what we're looking for is range fill that's coming down. So anything in between, in here, is probably not a liquidity, especially not here. 2032, I would say, is potentially liquidity, or it could just still be a range, right? If you look here, you have the top of the range here, right? So this is probably a bottom of the range on a smaller time frame. So I wouldn't say it's definitely liquidity. Liquidity is if you potentially break out, right? You come down below. Like in these cases, you have these wicks here, came down below, right? You broke the lows and you start going up. So could you argue that that wick wasn't high enough to think it was liquidity? I think it was a liquidity, like mainly because what happened with it is like you came up, you broke all of these. What was this? 1, 2, 3, 4 hours worth of highs, and then you closed bearish below all of this, right? Even if it was like 3, 4 pips below, you still closed below. So I think with that, like you probably be able to say, okay, price is likely to come down. But because news was so mixed, I think that was an issue. But also, I think the 4 hour just pushed. Yeah, the first thing it did was just push down. On the 5, can you see on the 5? Yeah, so this. So this was the 4 hour opening, I think. Or where was it? Or like somewhere here. This was the 4 hour opening, right? Just came down. Next 5 closed. This 5 didn't close below the range. But any given point, right? You've already kind of filled the range towards these areas, I would say. You broke this low. The 4 hour has no high, right? You understand if it wants to drive down, you probably will need, because 4 hour candles usually have highs and lows. So that's why we didn't take it just off rip, right? If it flips, we're expecting a top wick for the 4 hour. So in that case, cool. Like we'll look for the top wick of the 4 hour, and then we'll look to take that down. So that's what we did, right? We just took this little bit of a move. We closed 10 around here. What was this? 36.9. Yeah, we're like 37.1, right? To like 38. Yeah. Understood. Fantastic. Yeah. Yeah.
Would taking a sell on the flip back down on that 4 hour have been valid?
Probably not. Do you want to guess why?
Because we'd filled most of the range. Right?
That as well, but there's also one more thing I would say. So essentially, right, you've on the 4 hour, right, you've come down, you've already done all of this, you broke the lows first.
Yeah.
That's my issue. If you've
And
broke
then
the lows, then you flip to come up, right? There's a high chance price will just continue flipping up, right? Because it has no top wick, you probably will generate a top wick. As it's coming up, I don't know if this is going to continue up, right? And in that case, it's difficult to trade that. Whereas if it didn't break any of these lows, like for example, if this wick was only to around here, didn't break the lows, and then it was kind of just like hovering in the middle here, and then came up to create a top wick, I probably wouldn't have had that that flip to go up anyways then, because I'm expecting it, if it wants to drive up, truly drive up, it will drive down to grab liquidity to drive up, right? So the fact that you broke the lows indicates that having a buy stop here is valid. But if you didn't, if you just kind of hovered around here, any given point, price could just drive up a little bit and then continue to break the lows. And then at that point, you may be able to take the buys to go back up, but then you also don't have an advantage point anymore, or you don't have an entry because you have a top wick for 4 hour.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. A little bit.
It's like a lower percentage one, right? So
yeah. So yeah, the 4 hour, because it pushed down. That's the main issue. Like it pushed down first. If it didn't, right? If it came up, yeah, like we'd be looking for the sells off the rip to when the candle flips. If the 4 hour like after the 4 hour closed below like this, if it created this top wick first, my God, I don't even know how far you would drive. Yeah, like
Down
you
to
definitely have to
2,000.
like probably not down all the way there, but you at least get this wick fill, right? Which is a guaranteed 27 pips. And then you
Yeah.
probably have it down to 32. So your total position is like, 80% chance you'll get 50 pips. But you just came down first, so we looked to go up. By the way, this is very nice. The daily is coming up with no bottom wick, right? So how high this goes is, is up to price. But if it continues to drive up, we could be potentially looking for the daily flips to come back down. So, for example, if price, starts breaking all these highs, taps around 44 or whatever, I probably can't take an entry towards these areas. But I'll be definitely looking for these flips to come down because your 4 hours closing like this, right? If it's gonna break, it's broken the last 4 hour high. So any given point, once it flips, it's gonna fill the range, and that gives us like exactly what we just said, Johnny, right? Like if it comes up, creates a top wick first, and then flips, you have a lot higher confirmation that it's gonna fill the range.
Oh yeah.
So from here to here, could be a pretty nice 40 pips. You might catch this as an Asian, guys. See what Wix has to say. But this is beautiful. Wow. It's just a shame there's no volume at this time. So you'll probably see this hourly close somewhere above, ideally no top wick or whatever, right? And then it starts to push down. You maybe get a flip in like a couple hours time. But that would be incredible. Because like look at this, your hourly, right? Your hourly closed bearish respecting 2036 as well. This is if price action was like given to you on a silver platter, my God, this is like, this is this is the appetizer. This is the amuse bouche right here. Is it possible we get a monthly wick fill before coming down? Yes, that is very, very high chance we will get that, right? Because we've been pushing so aggressively up. Any given point, we can just continue the aggressive push up, wick fill all the way up to 2070, whatever, and then start flipping bearish. Because that's what happened all of these times, right? All 3 times that you broke above 1991. The only difference is now we have a closure. So maybe when we tap into 2077, we're not expecting price to come down all the way to these areas anymore, right? For rejection. What we could be expecting is potentially price to continue after grabbing some short-term liquidity, which could be, retest to 40, 47, 51, or even like up to 65. So if something like this happens where you get closure above, right, and then you get this retest, you could just start driving back up. But at that point, we have no data, so we'll have to wait for price to print its own data and then trade that. How much did this just move? No top wick, no bottom wick. This is just driving. This was 30 pips. Jeez. Yeah, but you can't just take you can't take a sell here off the rip, right? There's no way you can. Your daily closed bearish, daily closed bearish respecting, right? We mentioned respecting 34. Any given point, price will literally price doesn't need to have a bottom wick. Can you imagine price having no bottom wick? I can, right? Because you're so bullish. You've already tapped into the areas on the 4 hour for liquidity. If you want to drive up, you can just stop driving up. But yeah, that's what I would say. But if it does flip, we'll be looking for the flips to come down, and that would be quite beautiful. When is best stop trading in this month? December and come back January, please. Okay. I think throughout December you probably can still trade. The only caveat to that I would say is like probably Christmas Day, Boxing Day, and then like probably January 1st or around those sorts of times when there's literally no volume. Can we try to find like the last January or like oops, don't want to move that, but like these sorts of times, right? What happened here? Or like let's look on the 30. Oh fuck, can I even scroll back that far? Oh, Jan. Oh fuck, just not. Okay, the hourly. June, Feb, December. Yeah, you moved in December. It's not bad. December 21st, 25th. Oh, you just don't have any candles for 25th. So yeah, I think because it's a public holiday as well, you probably don't get anything there. But generally, yeah, 24th and 25th, right? But generally, I would say like what 23rd, end of 23rd, you moved a little bit. It's not too bad. But yeah, like just don't trade those bank holidays. I think I don't think you can, anyways. Christmas Day, you probably can't trade it.
Well, you want a 100 spread or something.
Yeah, probably. You get slipped by like 300 pips. You slip into stop loss. Yeah, imagine. True price could just be grabbing liquidity to push lower. Yeah, there's price, because it has no bottom wick, there's a high chance price is going to come down. A daily candle, right? When was the last time you got a daily candle with no bottom wick? I'm trying to find it here, right? This was the last time we had it. And that's because we created a very steep bottom wick previous to that daily, right? We understood that this candle, we broke this down, was 111 pips. So any given point, price can just start driving up, right? It doesn't need to create that bottom wick. So in this case, if it doesn't have a bottom wick for this candle and it just starts driving up, I'm not saying it can't happen, right? I'm saying that if it flips, I'll look to take that down. But if it doesn't, I can't. So I missed most of the stream. We'll have to rewatch. Are you saying we can't rip up from here? I'm saying we can, right? There's a chance we can rip up. There's a chance that price will do anything it wants, right? The only issue is I can't take anything if it continues to just rip up. Unless you rip up, come back down, create some level of bottom wick, and then start breaking the highs again, re-breaking the highs, then cool, I'll look to take those buys to go up. But as this candle is going to flip, you're probably going to see a bottom wick, especially for this daily. And especially, just based off the 4 hour, which looks fantastic, I would say, yeah, you probably can look to take this down to these sorts of areas. It's difficult to take a sell, a sell towards these areas because at any given point, price here did break these lows, right? These lows. So if on the higher time frame you want to drive up, this could be the liquidity you need to just start pushing price up. So if that's the case, then it's a little bit more difficult, right? I can't take the sells here. I'm going to need that one extra bit of confirmation, and that's going to be the flip of this candle. And you've broken the previous 4 hour highs. I'd like to see this slightly higher up, but we'll see. What prop firm am I using? I'm using ACG, but yeah, like I'd like to just trade a live, but we'll see. I have a live as well, which has like 1.5K in it, but I'm using that for the swing that we have at the moment. But I might trade that. I might stop copying the trades over sometime in the future. We'll see.
Yo,
So you back home?
yeah. I
Oh.
deliver pizza.
Wow, we have 53 people here today. What are you guys doing watching this random Asian guy stream at 11 p.m. London? What is going on? But regardless, welcome. I guess you 5,000 people watch Don anyways, right?
Bro, this is actually the first time you've ever closed above here.
Yeah, it's nuts, right? It feels weird that you got a closure above all-time highs. Like it's not even just like a really weak closure.
A normal person looking at price would just think, "Oh, you're probably like going higher here," but us, we're like, "Oh, we closed above the range. Like we're definitely like I don't know."
Yeah, like we have that extra confirmation. Am I South African? I get a lot of questions asking if I'm South African. Do I sound South African? Like
No.
Like exactly, right?
You sound BBC.
I sound like half American and half like English, and like it's just a weird combination, but not South African. Not to say South African, there's anything wrong with the South African accent. Well, hopefully I sound like I'm from the UK because I'm living here. So yeah, monthly closures. This is just clean, man. This is so nice. You get a bottom wick retesting like 2007 or like, oh, that would be so good. It's just like at this point, you've never had this, right? Never in your life have you closed on a monthly. If your weekly closes above, will we ever have we ever had a weekly closure where it is no, we haven't, right? Weekly closure above, what's this, 2035? If we get that, man, that'd be pretty nuts. But then we'll probably look for, then it's more just price action and structure where you get something like this. Right, so like these levels, we'll just look for these to get tapped, and potentially as it's ranging in these areas, so the price comes up, ranges, right? We'll look for break of structure to come up, right? So this to come up. This is the more realistic market movement. This is just general market movement, right? So we're understanding that if you start breaking above all of this, this is the kind of structure we need to look to get for buys. And where we're going to get entries, probably not the wick entries, unless we have previous price action. So if this has already happened, you start coming back down, right? You come down, and then you grab liquidity, and then you start closing above again. Cool. We can then look to see if we can get wick entries at these areas, right? Similar to this, wick entries to continue up. But that's because we have data. If we don't have this data, it's difficult. And then at that point, we probably will just look for the breakouts after grabbing liquidity. So the capture of like this move here, right? You'll maybe just put this down below your liquidity grab, and then you'll have this, like, I don't know where you'll put your TP. To be honest, no idea. Stop loss to break even, maybe at 10 pips and close full. I don't know, right? But we'll see. But yeah, I'm gonna leave this up because this is very key, right? When we start breaking above all-time highs, it's a lot of just market structure, pure market structure. We're gonna need to rely on that because we don't have past data, and in that case, we just look for this. If it wants to come down, just reverse, right? But if as it's coming down, we'll see it because it needs to come up and then come down, right? If it comes down from here, then we have data. If it comes up all the way to these areas and then comes down, we also have some data. But that's why the buys above will be slightly more challenging, but we love a challenge. I feel like Don's probably thinking gold is a little bit too easy to trade at this point. Do you think gold, he just gets bored? He's just like, oh man, just another day of this shit.
You go back to the monthly? Yeah, he probably does. Go back to the monthly.
So
Once we do come up and we break out of like the range, because technically we're still in like
yeah, we're still in this range.
this range.
Yeah.
So once we break out, wouldn't it be easier to trade once we're coming down? Because we know.
Yes.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. So if we break up, right, and then we come back down, cool, that's fine. Because then we can trade, liquidity grab part of it on the higher time frame. So technically, if this month pushes up first, it's actually better for us. Why? Because once you push up, cool, you might not go very far because your monthly has no bottom wick, right? So it's indicating you need some more liquidity if it wants to drive, or you're just in this range. If you just play in this range, it's not too bad, because then we can get some like actual, previous data to kind of solidify our levels on. Whereas if you just push above here and then continue up, oh man, we will see. We will see. That's the difficult part of it, but yeah, we'll just react to whatever happens.
I kind of hope it does make like new prices because it'll be cool to trade once we like I don't know once it does make like ranges and something we can actually trade in.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see. But in terms of like actually trading it, I don't know.
Do you think Don would have more runners or less runners? Like just close 10 pips.
I think a lot of the times, if we potentially like on this structure, right? If this structure has been formed and then we're starting to break at the all-time highs, we'll just go break even. And then like for some trades, depending on volume, we might just leave it. The TP just to be like there's no TP. Because where are you going to set it? Like because you're going to be watching price anyways, right? But where do you set the TP? Like I literally have no idea where, because TPs and like break evens and like advantage points and stop losses are set on areas which make sense, right? So stop losses will always be fine, right? But where the fuck do I put my TP? So would it not make more sense to just not have a TP, just watch price? If it comes back to break even, cool. Then we've hit break even. Stop loss to break even is still, that's still fine, right? But like, I don't know how far it's going to drive up. I think we did, like we mentioned as well, like last time we broke all-time highs was like these areas. So you had all-time highs here back in 2011. You broke it in 2022 or 2020 here, and then you pushed up for like 1,000 something pips from here to here, right? So okay, so am I now from this point? Am I expecting 1,400 pips?
1,500 pips.
Right? So up to 2,200. So like I don't know, like that's just what from previous price, right? That's what happened when we broke the highs, and then you can say, at this point, you broke the highs. So cool. From this point, when you broke here, you start going up. Your next high was also around 60,000 points, so 1,600 pips. So is it around that kind of number? Is that what we're expecting? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why the TP is like a bit of a weird one, and also the swing trade. Yeah, if honestly, if the monthly comes down, creates a bottom wick for us first, that's like in these levels, I might enter another swing trade, and then look to take this to all-time highs because of this closure above, which is fantastic. But
Minimum
obviously,
you build the
what?
wick, right? Like what would you think like your advantage point would be on that position?
As in like where my
Like,
stop loss to break even.
yeah.
I would say, like, for example, if it does come down, I'll be looking for a swing trade below this weekly candle. So anywhere in these areas, I would say, like 1970, because it's the last time you grab liquidity and then you start popping up again. So if it does come back down to these areas, I'll look for a swing trade. Um, I mean, fuck, depends on where the weekly closes as well. If the weekly closes like this, I might get a swing trade towards like, yeah, I'll probably look for a slightly deeper, a break of these lows. Maybe somewhere in like this box here, like, say like between here and here. That's where I'll look for that swing trade. But the stop loss is still going to be like, what, down to here for like 500 something, 600 pips, right? Yeah. Subscribe, loving the stream. Yeah, cheers, man. I think you asked some good questions as well. So basically, no market structure equals harder trade. Yeah. So the analysis that we just did is very heavily based off of what happened to price and what price action did the last time it was in this area, right? Whereas if we're trading in these areas, it's unknown territory. What has price done previously here? Nothing, because it's never been there. So where am I gonna, what am I looking to fill? Like, because when you break into a range, you get a range fill, right? So for example, this 4 hour closed below, right? You have a 4 hour respecting as well. So you could have come down to fill the range. Cool, you filled the range. So this is probably my TP. But in the case where, and like my stops to break even is probably when this candle is flipping or like this wick fill to the left, right? So all of these things make sense. But when it gets to all-time highs, like above 2070, like where am I going stop loss to break even? Where am I going, where am I putting my TP? Stop loss is fine because then you can put it below like a 30 low or like an hourly low or 4 hour low, right? That's fine. But TP is the main one. So, but it's not the biggest issue, right? Not having a TP is not an issue because you just close when you see like, okay, cool, it's pushed so and so amount, you've grabbed X amount of liquidity, you're probably gonna run out of steam around here, or it's showing rejection. Then cool, we might start doing more of like kind of trailing stop losses, um, based off of like the 15 or 30-minute lows or whatever that is, right? But yeah, we'll see.
Wait, did we came up to all time highs like when earlier this year, right? Bro, I think I blew my account last time we came up to all time highs.
In May? Oh yeah, I just started trading with Don like about that.
I definitely blew my account back then.
Jesus.
I feel like it's definitely like I think it's like since price is going higher, you just trade like, or at least I was trading even more stupid.
I would say the issue is like the last time you were here, you still weren't at all-time highs, right? All-time highs is like above here, whereas like here you still had some structure.
Mm.
So like this trade, this range is still okay to trade. infinitely better than this area to trade, right? But yeah, cool guys. I'm probably gonna end around here. Any final questions from the YouTube chat or the Zoom? I think we can pull back with hawkish Powell.
I didn't even have any trades today, but I was just gonna say, price action, price was just kind of confusing me. So
Yeah, I think the only thing that was clear was probably like if I didn't take Don's trade, and like outside of Don's trade, I probably wouldn't have anything. But just as the 4-hour came down, broke the lows, the flip was not too bad. I would have probably taken that. But besides that, I probably wouldn't have taken anything. Because the main thing is, right, this 4-hour, if it created a top wick first after breaking below, maybe I can get, a sell stop here to come down. But because it came down first, broke the lows, it's difficult.
You said you only would have took that though, right? Once you flipped here?
Yeah, I would only have taken this. It was this one.
Oh.
Yeah. Can I do a lower time frame analysis? So yeah, we did the lower time frame analysis earlier in the stream. If you just go back, like the first 20 minutes, I would say 25 minutes is just the breakdown. So yeah, just watch that again. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I'm probably gonna. We peaked at 61, or like what did we peak at? Jesus. All right. Anyways, I'm probably gonna call it around here. Any last minute things?
So the weekly closes tomorrow, monthly. It's weird that it's like that, but it doesn't affect anything, right?
No. We just watch price. We just react, right? We don't predict price, so it's fine. I closed gold earlier without TP. Without TP hit, how can I overcome, please? I think if it hit your TP, that's a sign that your trade made sense, right? It was a good trade. Closing early doesn't mean it's a bad thing, right? We often have TPs at certain areas that is like in the best case chance, right? Price is just going to come up, wake up, and it's going to, tap our level. But, we often like close where it makes sense to close, which either could be at 10 pips, 15 pips, 20 pips. Sometimes it's 40 pips, right? It's just where it makes sense to close. So yeah, don't feel bad about closing early, as long as it made sense for you, right? If it was your plan, you're understanding that price could reject at that level, then yeah, cool, close full, or manage risk in some way. Yeah, cool guys. I'm gonna pop. I'm gonna head off, pop in the shower, get some sleep. But thanks for joining up, and have a good weekend, guys. Monthly close, so celebrate that with some food, obviously, because as traders, that's like the highlight of our year. But yeah, cool. I will speak to you all on the Zoom. I'll speak to you guys on Sunday. But yeah, see you guys.
Yeah, see you.
For everybody on the YouTube, thanks for joining up. 60 people. Wow, this was incredible. Yeah, Chris, thanks for joining up. Yeah, like honestly, we do this every single day. I'm just trying to teach and educate in the DVS community to think in a way that matches with our strategy. For people who are all different types of levels of traders, right? To kind of align with what Don's trading style is, to see how they can take advantage of that, how they can start learning. Obviously, he also has the course, so I would very much recommend you take that course. And then yeah, like watch his free streams. I would say that's probably the most useful thing. Free streams. Then if you think you need more content, probably the course. And then also you have all of like my streams, you have Huss's streams, everybody's streams. But in the case you also want like to be on the Zoom and like have membership, I think Nightbot posted that as well. You could just join up there. Just DM me anywhere. Yeah, like I think I've also put on my loading screen. Oh, I could put this now. Look at this. And I also created one which is like stream has finished, so I'll put that on for next time. But yeah, that's basically it. Thank you very much for joining, guys, and hope you guys have a good weekend. If I don't speak to any of you, or I probably won't speak to any of you beforehand, but I will see you guys for Sunday. Sunday night we'll be back to do an analysis before Monday, and then we'll have a members only Monday breakdown, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday will be as normal, right? So yeah, cool. I will see you guys on Sunday, and hope everybody has a good weekend and just chill out. no trading, and just relax. Come back to the charts refreshed. It should be good. Cool. Thanks for joining up, guys. Yeah, peace.